Let's review the auction. There are three components to the auction: price, which advertises opportunity; time, which regulates all advertised opportunity; and volume, which measures the success or failure of the advertised opportunities. One of the things that will be most difficult to really gain an understanding of the educational program we're in will be the ability to focus on value, which we'll talk about in a minute, and not be focused on price. Remember, price is simply an advertising mechanism. We said earlier that the market operates by a continuous two-way auction process. Most of you are familiar with either an art auction, a farm auction, or something of that nature. Let's just review an art auction. The auctioneer comes out, and let's say he's got a piece of art and he wants to get the bidding started at $100,000. He says, who will give $100,000, etc. If no one lifts the bid at $100,000, he will then drop the price to say 97.5, 96, and maybe he drops it all the way down to 95. At 95,000, the auction gets underway. Now, what happens in most cases is the auction, from the time it gets started, starts to pick up steam. You'll hear, I have 97, I have 97.5, I have 98 of it, 99, I have 100, I have 101. So the auction now has moved back through the initial 100,000 that he couldn't get anybody to lift the bid for to start with. There's a certain psychological thing that takes place once an auction gets underway. It seems like nobody really wants to be first, but once the auction gets underway, everybody wants a part of it. And this is really how prices are distributed, or the bids and offers are distributed on the stock and futures exchanges. You know, sometimes it's open, it used to be open outcry, now it's electronic, but it's the same thing. So in this case, the art auction, it goes from low to high. Now, two things can happen once the auction gets underway. In most cases, as the auction starts, prices start to go higher, you will hear the auctioneer begin to put fillers into the process. So he may get it 110,000 and it's going very slow, and he'll say, who will give 110,000 for this wonderful piece of art developed by so-and-so in the 1700s? And so when you hear the fillers being put in, then you know that it's late in the auction process. It may not be over, but it's getting late. Now, another thing may happen. As the auction gets underway at 95,000, as it gets above the 110,000, instead of the auctioneer putting filler in, you may hear him say new bidder. When he says new bidder, that means that higher prices are actually bringing in more activity, not cutting it off. This is something that you will see quite often in the stock and futures market. It happens when, say, the prices pass some kind of technical level or some breakout from a balance area or previous monthly highs or lows, etc. And you will see this market accelerate. Now, in the art auction, we go from low to high. In the stock and futures markets, we go from low to high, and then we go from high to low. The same process as the market is going lower is what took place as the market's going higher. Within each auction, there will be some information conveyed. That's what an auction is about. The profile, the market profile, is the device we use, or the tool we use, to record the market's continuous two-way auction process. Once we have a profile, it gives us a visual representation of the market. This market profile gives the market structure. Reading and interpreting that structure is one of the elements that gives us an edge. You will very often hear that a trader without an edge is a trader that will not be successful. Recalling back when we first started talking about Stoudemire and the development of the market profile, one of the things that he discovered, we said he was a major in statistics at Stanford University. Being a major in statistics, he was very familiar with distribution curves. And he knew that a distribution curve requires a constant on the horizontal axis and a variable on the vertical axis. His observation was that you could make time the constant. The time between 6:30 and 7 is the same as the time between 7 and 7:30. So by placing time the constant on the horizontal axis and comparing price the variable to the constant time, you now have a distribution curve, or you have a scientific method of comparing time and price. Let's take a look and see actually how we would mechanically record a profile on any particular day. You'll see at the top that we have 9:30 to 10 as our first period. We'll call it A period. It could be any letter you want. 10 to 10:30, again, equal time periods. And then it goes through until we find a market close at 1:30. So in A period, if prices hit a low of 27.71 and a high of 27.74, we would simply record A periods letters on the left-hand side of the sheet. B period then trades from 27.71.75 on the low to 27.73.50 on the high. Well, B is what we would call an inside period. So you can see we're one wide at the high and single prints on the bottom, and then two wide in the center. As we go on throughout the day, you'll see that we just continue to record the letters from left to right. In C period, when the market extends below the original low at 27.71, trading at 27.70.75 and 27.70.50, you'll see C period is now on the far left. We record the period from 11 to 11:30 in exactly the same manner. As the day goes on, we continue to mechanically record the 30-minute periods in this manner. This is a market profile. The market profile is really nothing mysterious. It is simply, you construct it by simply taking the high and low of the 30-minute bar periods. When you get done with the profile, you'll have on the left, I'm showing here, a market profile. On the right, we are looking at the normal distribution curve. Now, the profile that we see in stock and futures markets will rarely be a natural or normal curve. It will almost always vary. But the normal distribution is our starting point, so we can begin to organize the information and have some idea what the distribution throughout the day looks like. The next thing we do is we make a calculation, and we want to see where 70% of the day's trade took place. Where 70% of the day's trade took place, we refer to that as the value area. The important thing is here, we want to be able to distinguish between price and value. By distinguishing between price and value, Value helps us sort out some of the prices that were less significant on any particular day. The profile, as I mentioned earlier, is nothing more than constructing daily bars in just a different manner. On the left, you see the high and low of the daily 30-minute bars. On the right, you see a profile. You notice now that it's not a normal or distribution curve, and it will normally vary as we go out throughout the session. The most difficult thing for traders beginning to employ this methodology is to constantly be able to distinguish between price and value. Most traders get caught up chasing and trading price. Remember, price is only an advertising mechanism. Our focus is on distinguishing the difference between price and value.